What's good, everyone? Thank you for checking out another Oathbreaker deck tech. If you're new to the channel, my name is Jake and welcome. This time around we're going to be looking at Serra the Benevolent with Unbreakable Formation as our signature spell. Now if you like this video, chances are you'll like my other videos, so please check them out. Subscribing, liking, sharing, and commenting are the easiest ways to support the channel, and it's greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's just hop right in. Serra the Benevolent is our Oathbreaker. Unbreakable Formation. Now I chose Unbreakable Formation because I really like the way it gives our creatures indestructible. Being able to protect our board I think is really important for the way I've built this out. I've also added a new column you'll see here, non-budget ads. This deck I definitely wouldn't call a budget build. It comes in around $150, so it's not super expensive, but it's certainly not budget either. These 10 cards here are cards that I've highlighted that I think would be great additions, but they're quite expensive. As you can see, just the total of these 10 cards is well above the cost of the entirety of the rest of the deck. So kind of add these in as you may already have them or could easily trade into them. So for enchantments, Endless Horizons, this is kind of the budget option over land tax. I also just kind of really like this card. It's also white and 3 colorless. When it comes into play, we search our library for any number of plains cards, and we're running 19 snow-covered plains, so we have a lot. We remove them from the game, then we shuffle a library. At the beginning of our upkeep, we can put one of those plains that we've exiled into our hand. So it's like every turn we're drawing a plains on top of drawing a card from our library. You want to be careful though not to get stranded with pulling all of your plains out of your deck and then having someone like disenchant your Endless Horizons, because then all those plains will just get stranded and that will feel terrible. But it is a very great, reliable way to make sure you're hitting your land drops and you're thinning your deck, so you're not just pulling lands off the top, but you're drawing some action as well. So I love Endless Horizons. Ghostly Prison kind of helps slow everything down a little bit, puts a little bit of a soft bubble around you, so it stops your opponents from attacking you unless they want to pay 2 for each creature that's attacking you. Basically, the premise of this deck is a light mono-white taxes theme. So we play things like Ghostly Prison, Rule of Law. This really slows everyone down. Players can't cast more than one spell each turn. We're not really interested in chaining a whole bunch of spells in a single turn anyways, so this more benefits us than hurts us. Same with Spirit of the Labyrinth. Players can't draw more than one card each turn. White doesn't have a ton of ways to draw cards, so this really leverages and kind of slows down those black and blue decks in particular. Kataki's War Wage. This here again is one of those taxes cards. All artifacts have, at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice this artifact unless you pay 1. We're only running a small number of artifacts, and honestly, they're not too powerful. So we don't mind if we get this out, if we lose an artifact or two. It's really going to punish our opponents that are on artifact builds, though. Lyra Dawnbringer, very powerful angel. It's a $7 card, but I think it's the power level of it is well worth it. Plus, it gives all of our angels +1/+1 and lifelink. We're running something like 11 angels, so this is almost a must include in my opinion. Or Oreskos Explorer. Now, this is great because it's kind of like a pseudo card draw. So when it enters the battlefield, we search our library for up to X plains cards, where X is the number of players who control more lands than we do. We reveal those cards and put them into our hand, then shuffle our library. So if there's 3 players that control more cards than us, we get 3 plains, put 1 into play, 1 into our hand. That's where a card like Lotus Field comes into play too, because we're sacrificing 2 lands to get Lotus Field into play. We're not really losing a land drop, but we're also gaining the advantage by playing Oreskos and Lotus Field. Resplendent Angel, I think, is just a really powerful angel. It's like a $12 card, but super powerful. We're going to be gaining life. It's just a powerhouse and it'll do a ton of work for us. Segovian Angel, it's only 1/1 flying vigilance angel, but it's an angel, so it helps with our overall theme. Selfless Spirit, this again gives our board a little bit of protection. Sephiroth's Sky's Blade, this I think will be very easy for us to cast with just a single white mana and tapping 4 untapped creatures we control with flying. And at 7/7, this thing is a beater. And then of course, Serra Angel. I was on the fence with whether or not to even include this, but it's the namesake of our deck, so I kind of figured we had to put it in. Angel of Grace, this again is just a really big, great, powerful angel. It also will come through in a in a pinch. I don't think this will really come up much, but when it enters the battlefield until end of turn, damage that would reduce our life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. Again, I don't really think this will come up much, but it might. Angel of Vitality. For 3, we get a 2/2 flyer. If we would gain life, we gain that much life plus 1 instead. And then if we have 25 life or more, it becomes a 4/4. So the 25 or more, I think, will happen quite often. We have a number of ways to gain life, so gaining that life plus 1, I think, is pretty great. Bishop of Wings. Whenever an angel enters the battlefield under our control, we gain 4 life. That's a lot of life, and we have a lot of angels. And then whenever an angel we control dies, we get a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying out of it. So a little extra value. It's a 1/4. It's got a big butt, so we can block some of our opponent's early game attacks. Boreas Charger. This too is kind of like proxy card draw almost. It's a 2/1 flyer. When it leaves the battlefield, we choose an opponent who controls more lands than we do. We search our library for a number of playing cards equal to the difference, reveal them, put 1 on the battlefield tapped, and the rest into our hands. And then Bruna, the Fading Light, and Gisela, the Broken Blade. The dream is to get those both onto play and meld them, because it is fantastic. Ethersworn Canvas, here's another Taxes card. Each player who's cast a non-artifact spell this turn can't cast an additional artifact spell this turn, so it just slows everything down a little bit. Again, we're not really interested in chaining together a bunch of spells. We just want to play our big, bomby things that have a pretty big impact on the board, pass the turn or attack. Giver of Ruins, it's the new stepmom of Ruins, if you will, but it gives it, again, as a way to protect our creatures. Entreat the Angels, again, because we're not going to be drawing a bunch of cards, being able to rip this off the top as our first draw, going to happen pretty reliably, and then so casting it for its miracle cost of white, white, and X to create X 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying is huge. Spectral Procession really helps fuel to get out Sephara, Icon of Ancestry. When this enters the battlefield, we are, of course, going to name Angel, giving all of our Angels +1/+1, and then we can pay 3 and tap it and go digging for Angels as well. Brought Back, this could actually be an option for the signature spell as well, but this lets us return 2 target permanent cards that in our graveyard that were put there this turn, and we get to put them right back into play. So it's a great little effect. Generous Gift. This I put in here as sort of the budget option over Grasp of Fate, which I think is just a strictly better card, but Grasp of Fate is quite expensive. Rally of Wings, this is a great finisher. We untap all creatures we control, and creatures with flying get +2/+2 until end of turn. Rebuff the Wicked, counter target spell that counters a permanent we control. This again is just another little way of protecting ourselves. Settle the Wreckage. Exile all attacking creatures that target player controls. That player may search his or her library for that many basic lands, put those cards onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle their library. Now, I was debating between this and Wrath of God, and I think this is just better for our deck. We're not really interested in wrathing because we're going to lose a bunch of creatures as well. And we're actually not too concerned with letting our opponent get a number of lands because we have enough cards that we want our opponents to have more lands than us so that we can benefit off of it, that I think this is just fine. We don't lose our creatures, and we get to exile all of their creatures. So this is great. And then Swords to Plowshares, this kind of targeted spot removal to get rid of big threat that our opponent might have, such as a Sephara. And then for our non-budget ads, I'll go through these kind of quickly, but Archangel of Thune, obviously this is a very, very strong card. Archangel Tithes, would fit into their Taxes theme a little bit better too. Extraplanar Lens, now this is why I chose Snow-Covered Plains instead of regular basic plains, because we exile Snow-Covered Plains, and then every time we're tapping a Snow-Covered Plains, we're adding an additional white mana to our mana pool. Chances are our opponents aren't going to be playing a huge number of Snow-Covered Plains, so this is really just going to be, hopefully, mostly one-sided. Getting Ally of Zendikar, the emblem is very, very good. It also creates 2/2 Knight ally tokens, which could be good to help block and protect our Serra. And then also just turning it into a 5/5 is totally reasonable and is quite the beater as well. Grasp of Fate we talked about. Land Tax we kind of talked about as well. Linvala, this just shuts down certain decks our opponents might be running. It's also an angel. Smothering Tithe is great. our opponents are going to be drawing cards, at least one every turn. Getting a treasure every time our opponent draws a card is fantastic. Teferi's Protection, again, a great way to kind of just protect our board, take us out of the equation, keep us safe for a turn. And then Thalia, another great taxes card, but a little bit on the expensive side. So that's the Oathbreaker deck tech for Serra the Benevolent along with Unbreakable Formation. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Like I said earlier, if you like this one, chances are you'll like my others. So make sure you check those out as well. Making these videos is something I truly enjoy doing, so your support means a tremendous amount. But until the next one, my friends, have a wonderful day, take care of yourselves, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.